Yo guys, I've got the spark which I'm going to use to ignite the fire for a brand new top 10 here on my channel. Now there are a ton of starter packs that have been released for Skylanders throughout the years, and naturally that's what we're going to be counting down today, the top 10 best of all of these starter packs released. And that means you can expect a lot of Superchargers, because boy, like 50% of all of the starter packs released for Skylanders were all just different versions of Superchargers, mind you, but we're going to shove that to one side because those starter packs are going to be left for another video in of themselves. For now we're going to take into mind any starter pack available, whether that's 3DS, Console, Dark Edition, Crash Edition, and so the ranking itself is based upon the assemblement of figurines. What in-game digital bonuses did you get for upgrading to different starter packs and all that, so ultimately which starter packs gave you the most value and the best deal, with everything included in them, so the array of figures as well as the game itself, obviously the quality of the game we're judging here, and the packaging too. Like some starter pack packages just looked all the more glorious than others, and that's all going to be taken into account for a top 10 that I cannot wait to get into once the intro has rolled itself out, mind you. So I'm going to kick things off with none other than the Swap Force Dark Edition. Now what's great about this Dark Edition is that it debuted the idea of Dark Edition starter packs in first place, and it did so by giving us a huge array of characters to use. This is by far the greatest quantity of characters we ever got in a Dark Edition starter pack, and that involves the regular 3 Skylanders you would get in Dark Edition formats, and then it also gave us a brand new Dark Spyro. So instead of just having the Series 1, we now have the Mega Ram version with the long horns and an excellent amount of detail, so I love that dark version. But better yet, the game also gave us one of the brand new cores, that being Dark Slobbertooth. So you got these excellent Dark Skylanders with great contrast and colours and awesome designs. Like seriously, these dark colour palettes worked really well with the designs I had, especially Blast Zone. But not only did we get these awesome dark variants even, but we also got alongside it an incredible game. Not my favourite though, so the fact that Swap Force is my favourite game, and the fact that outside of figures, the Dark Edition didn't really give you any advantages this year round, is ultimately what does drop Swap Force Dark Edition down to 10th place for me. Next up is Superchargers Dark Edition, specifically for Xbox and PlayStation, where you got Dark Spitfire, Dark Supershot Stealth Elf alongside the Dark Sea Shadow, Dark Hot Streak, and the Chaos Trophy. Now what's great about this is that the Chaos Trophy gave you lots of great in-game bonuses. You got to play as Chaos and you unlocked extra modes for racing. So it definitely is an upgraded version of the game you get in terms of additional content you can access from a starter pack alone, because it even gives you access to a whole new vehicle terrain for sea terrain. So right out of the bat, you can grab this starter pack, a sky vehicle, and be able to 100% the game. So just the sheer amount of the game you can access with this starter pack alone makes it pretty great. And on top of that, Spitfire is an awesome figure, as is the Hot Streak and the Sea Shadow. Unfortunately, Super Shot Stealth Elf, or as I prefer to call her, Super Shit Stealth Elf, does really lower this starter pack for me. So if we had a better dark character for the choice, then I could have seen this going over a whole lot more better, especially since the dark variant is barely different from the original, and we've had a Dark Stealth Elf already, so we really did not need another one. There is a huge lack of originality here, a huge lack of detail and contrast and colours, so it's just an ultimate letdown is what it is. Now for number 8 we have Skylanders Imaginators, but for Crash Bandicoot Edition, because this is where we got 4 entire senseis. With Crash Bandicoot and Dr. Nero Cortex we gained access to life and tech elemental realms, as well as Funk and Wumpa Islands. So that's 3 additional stages, all because of the 2 extra senseis you get in this pack. And not to mention, all the senseis are excellent. Kingpin, Golden Queen, Dr. Nero Cortex, and Crash Bandicoot, the thing they have in common is that they're all really fun characters. So this is definitely a great array, a great mix-up, and just a great way to start off with Imaginators. It's the perfect starting kit, besides of course what we'll talk about later. And besides the extra levels, you do unfortunately not get much more in-game boosts than that. So I suppose for lack of additional in-game content besides those 3 extra levels is a bit of a letdown, and the fact that you could later get the Crash Bandicoot figures separately with such ease, and these weren't even exclusive guest stars either because they could be played on any version of the game, so all of that does lead to a slight letdown. But with that being said, it's not going to take away from the fact that Swap Force 3DS is getting our number 7 spot, since this version included Rattleshake, Free Ranger and Volcanic Eruptor, one of the coolest variants, and 2 really great swappers on top of that. But the game at hand is the best of the 3DS titles, so being able to get the best 3DS game along with some excellent figures is what makes this starter pack so strong for me, and ultimately there just is no other way of putting it. But the 3DS versions have always been just alternate, dumbed down versions of the main consoles, so naturally, because the game itself isn't as impressive or as grand in scale, shall we put it, as the console versions, and it's just literally more of a tiny diversion, something to do when you don't have the consoles, I guess, or when you're done with the consoles and want a slightly different experience. But ultimately that experience never lives up to that of the console version, so even the best 3DS game isn't as good as the worst console game, and that is what drops Swap Force 3DS for me. But speaking of 3DS games, for number 6 I have Spyro's Adventure on 3DS. Now what makes this starter pack so strong is the obvious Igniter. You get Igniter in this starter pack, and that is so sick. But he's not the only one you get. You get Dark Spyro, which is a really dope-ass variant, and it really makes this quite a distinguishable pack. And you also got Stealth Elf. Now, when the game first came out on day 1, this was exclusively the only way to get these figures, so people would pick up this starter pack for those figures alone and would learn very quickly how worth it that was, because these figures were so cool, both in-game and out. So the figurines alone make this starter pack great, but the game also helps things out because of all the 3DS titles, in fact of all of the Skylanders titles period, this one is by far the most fast-paced, with a lot of quick and snappy platforming, excellent level design, even if it does get a little repetitive with its level themes. And to top it all off, speedrun objectives to where you need to rush to the end as soon as you complete an objective. That made things tense, and constantly the pacing was moving forward with very little cutscenes and a huge focus on gameplay. Again, it's not nearly the same level as the console experience, but it's a great standalone experience in of itself, worthy of number 6 on the list. Now number 5 is Superchargers Wii Dark Edition, or should I say Superchargers Racing for the Nintendo Wii, because yes, this is explicitly a racing game and nothing else. So just like the 3DS versions, it's an incredibly dumbed down diversion to move away from a regular formula for console experience, which gives you a lot more grand and fulfilling experience, we should put it. But that doesn't make Superchargers Racing a bad game. In fact, far from it. It's incredibly fun and fast paced. The driving mechanics are excellent, with some great vehicle combat tunes, some nice animations. Unfortunately, the Skylanders themselves don't affect the gameplay all that much, which is why getting additional vehicles for this starter pack isn't really all that beneficial. But you do get Dark Spitfire, Dark Bowser, Dark Hotstreak and the Dark Cloud Cruiser, which is an excellent array of vehicles, plus the Chaos Racing Trophy that again unlocks extra racing modes, so you get a lot of bonuses for upgrading to this starter pack digitally, that is. And it's just a fun game with a great array of figures, especially if you take the Dark Hammer Slam Bowser and the Dark Spitfire and put them in console versions, where you'll get some incredible gameplay, some incredible characters, and amazing attention to detail. I'm saying amazing twice just to put emphasis on it. After all, repetition for effect, that effect being to put emphasis on the very thing you are repeating. But now we repeat yet another starter pack, that being the Spyro's Adventure one, but this time around we're talking about the console, where you've got Spyro, Gilgud and Trigger Happy, 3 excellent figures, all ranged characters, so I would have preferred more variety in the cast here, but they're still excellent for being characters at a very middle tier, and I mean this as in, you don't get characters that suck, that put you off playing the game, but you also don't get the very best characters, so you're encouraged to get characters that are better for the game, you could go as far to say. And so overall, it's just an iconic starter pack. The packaging is iconic. You get the poster, the portal, the cards, the stickers, the codes that you could have used for Skylanders Universe back when that service was live. So yes, this starter pack just has iconicness plastered all over it, between the figures and the packaging and the game itself being incredibly fun and an excellent start to Skylanders. It's by far the perfect starter pack, not the best one, but the one that goes in the bestest direction of fulfilling upon its purpose. Now number 3 is going to be Imaginators Dark Edition. Now what makes this superior to the Crash Bandicoot Edition, despite having one less sensei, is that Dark Wolfgang, first of all, epic. And he also gives you access to the Undead Realms. That's one extra level straight away. But yes, there's a great variety here. You get Kingpin, who's the up-close brawler, that's literally his battle class 2, Golden Queen, who's a ranged sorcerer, and Wolfgang, who is again a ranged bowslinger. So you get those 3 battle classes, also perfect for your Imaginators, of which you get 3, and being able to create your own Imaginators is superior to having senseis, which was the imagination of someone else. So it really reinforces the creative elements of Imaginators, this, so you can explore the game's mechanics to a greater extent with the additional creation crystals, plus you get a gold chest to give you greater options for creating your Imaginators. There's just more value here because 2 additional crystals, an extra sensei and a chest is better than just 2 extra senseis value wise. Sure, you miss out on 2 levels, but just the sheer amount of content that you can put into your Imaginators thanks to this big buff digitally, rewarding wise for the upgrade is, well, what makes an upgrade worth it, shall I go as far to say, and that's where Imaginators Dark Edition gets our bronze medal. But speaking of silver, we have yet another Dark Edition coming up, which is highly appropriate because all of the darks seem to have silver splattered all over them, and what we're talking about this time is the Superchargers Wii U Dark Edition, my second favourite game, being packaged with such excellent figures. Unfortunately, we don't get the variety in vehicles, which is a huge letdown because we get the Dark Barrel Blaster and the Dark Hot Streak, which are 2 land vehicles, so unlike the Xbox and PlayStation versions, you do still need to get an additional sea vehicle and sky vehicle rather than just the sky vehicle, unless you buy this in conjunction with the Superchargers Wii Dark Edition. Then you get the Dark Clown Cruiser, I suppose, and it is a huge letdown as well that the Dark Barrel Blaster and Dark Turbocharged Donkey Kong can only be used on the Wii U, but this is the Wii U starter pack here, so what other version are you going to be playing now, right? It's really great to have a Nintendo touch to this starter pack, not to mention it's a really well laid out starter pack. It has the same strengths as Swap Force, where you can see the figurines at the top, and then for the rest of the starter pack with the game, the portal, the poster is packaged underneath, all with a very crisp looking Dark Edition setup, shall we say. You get the Chaos Racing Trophy too for the additional racing modes and the additional characters to take advantage of. Or should I say character, because this is simply Chaos we're talking about here. It's just a really great Dark Edition with, again, great figures. Dark Spitfire and Dark Hot Streak are great as always, but Dark Turbocharged Donkey Kong is an exception for how above and beyond they go with this dark variant. The silver and the black looks so appropriate with the design at hand. They're so great for Donkey Kong, and it's also awesome to see such an iconic character in a different spotlight, so to say, because you don't normally see Donkey Kong with these colours, and the creativity and originality there is excellent. But all of this doesn't hold a candle to the Trap Team Dark Edition, which is why you can see on screen before you gameplay of the components found in the Skylanders Trap Team Dark Edition starter pack, with the exception of the Water Jug head. I forgot to trap Cross Crow and for Water Tiki instead, so let's just forget that ever happened. Now when it comes to this Dark Edition, not only do you get excellent figures, you get Food Fight, Snapshot and Wildfire, which are all standouts from the game's lineup. Like seriously, there are 36 characters here and they gave you 3 of the very best. We're talking all of them being at least top 15 material from that roster. So the characters are fun and do a great job introducing the gameplay mechanics to you. Dark Wildfire even gives you the fire elemental gates to access as well, so you get more parts of the level to explore because of this starter pack. So again, that's increased content that you get as bonus for the upgraded version. You get the ultimate chaos trap as well, which allows you to trap chaos, and plus the trap is a lot more detailed, a lot more cooler and grand looking than the regular boring Chaos Trap. So I'm glad that they didn't just give you a Chaos Trap and they went that extra mile to give you a more detailed version of it, a more bulkier version of it, and a superior version of it, I should go as far to say. Bit like how the dark variants for all these characters are superior as well. Snapshot has really sharp contrast and it suits design very well. Meanwhile, Food Fight and Wildfire, just simply put, look great in black and silver. Wildfire especially because he's made of metals, and so seeing those metals in black and silver feel appropriate because they're very traditional metal type colours, even more so than his gold. In fact, because he isn't all gold and he has that silver and black, there is a colour contrast here because there are different colours to be seen, and that makes the figurine just stand out over more for it. It's very eye-popping, shall I put it, and you still get the detailed shield as well with the face embedded upon it, and the broken character in the game as you can very clearly see before you. So Trap Team Dark Edition is an excellent starter pack, the greatest starter pack from Skylanders to ever have been produced. And could you blame them for making such a great starter pack for Trap Team? I mean, this is Trap Team we're talking about here, also my favourite game. Now, with that all being said and done, this video is coming to an end, but before that happens, I first want to thank all my Blazing Knights and Scorpion Dragons whose support allow me to continue pumping out quality videos like this one. Without them, this all wouldn't be possible. Therefore, I genuinely appreciate every last one of you from the bottom of my heart. If you enjoyed this video, I have others you can watch by clicking on screen now, and you can even subscribe by pressing the button on the bottom right hand corner of the screen. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the next one, but until that moment arises, peace!